In 1974, in the quiet neighborhoods of Washington state, something sinister began to unfold. Young women, bright and full of promise, began to vanish. Their disappearances felt random at first, isolated tragedies, but soon, a pattern revealed itself. The women were often college students, last seen in places where they should have felt safe: a library, a campus walkway, a city street in daylight. The man responsible was Theodore Robert Bundy. To those who knew him on the surface, Bundy seemed charming, intelligent, even respectable. He studied law, volunteered at a crisis hotline, and appeared as though he belonged to the very fabric of everyday society. But beneath that mask was a predator, meticulous, calculating, and utterly devoid of remorse. Between 1974 and 1978, Bundy abducted. He often lured them by pretending to be injured, wearing a sling or a cast, and asking for help. It was a deliberate act of manipulation, appealing to the kindness and trust of strangers. Once his victims were isolated, Bundy's cruelty was beyond comprehension. Some were left in remote wooded areas, their lives cut short in a violence so senseless that words cannot fully capture the horror. What made Bundy's crimes even more chilling was his ability to blend in. He attended social gatherings, worked in political campaigns, and moved freely between states, while hiding the darkest of secrets. For years, he evaded capture, crossing lines between Washington, Utah, Colorado, and finally Florida. Each time suspicion grew, he seemed to slip away, leaving behind grief-stricken families and communities. But in January 1978, his brutality reached a final crescendo. After escaping custody in Colorado, Bundy made his way to Tallahassee, Florida. In the early hours of January 15th, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Within minutes, he had attacked 4 women: 2, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy. 2 others were left with devastating injuries, yet survived. The violence was frenzied, but still bore his trademark: control mixed with cruelty. Bundy was finally arrested weeks later, following another attempted kidnapping. The trial that followed drew national attention. For the first time, Americans were forced to reckon with the idea that evil could look like the man next door: polite, articulate, and smiling. In 1989, after years of appeals, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. Outside, crowds cheered, holding signs that read, "Burn, Bundy, burn." Yet for many, his death brought no closure. The wounds left by his crimes could never be healed by justice alone. Families were left with unanswered questions, and countless young women grew up in a world forever altered by the shadow of his name. Today, Bundy remains one of the most infamous serial killers in history. His crimes remind us of how fragile trust can be, how appearances can deceive, and how darkness can exist behind the most ordinary of faces. But they also remind us of something deeper: the resilience of those who survived, and the enduring memory of the women whose lives were stolen. As we look back on those years between 1974 and 1978, the story of Ted Bundy is not only about one man's violence, it is about the fragility of innocence, the weight of grief, and the quiet strength of those who carried on after unspeakable loss. And in remembering, we honor not him, but the voices silenced, and the lesson that evil, when ignored or underestimated, can walk among us undetected.